Welcome to BEOI. So this is our fourth week and I hope you're excited. I'm pretty excited. It's kind of fun to wrap up a course, a training course. And I think that 4 weeks is sort of a nice little perfect size for this sort of training. But you can go ahead and share with me if you feel that this course should have been structured to be a little bit longer, a 5-week course with an actual extra week, or if you feel that this week, hi Joanne, this week should have been a little bit shorter, or maybe a 3-week with an optional 4th week extension. So Caitlin and Joanne, we're just going to go through a quick run through week 4, and then you all are setting the agenda in terms of what topics you want us to talk about in our meeting. Maybe there was something that you're like, wait a second, my video is captioned. Why is she tripping? If that's the case, then I'm happy to show you the difference between an auto-generated English caption video and an English caption video, because that's the little difference. All right, so week 4 is all about creating, curating, and completing. And that means that we have our mini showcase of our introductory module with all of its components fleshed out. That means all the pages have information in it. And then having the first learning unit. Now, maybe you're thinking week 1 has a learning unit, but it's smaller because the intro is so big. That's how mine is. So normally what I do is I put in my first learning unit for week 1, but then I tell my reviewers, but look at week 2, but because week 2 really represents a typical learning week or unit. And so you can go ahead and do something like that if you want. The creating, that means this is work that you have that you're presenting into the Canvas pages. These could be your own videos, PowerPoint slides, things, infographics, things that you are creating yourself. Even if you're borrowing part of it or ideas of it, in essence, you're putting everything together. Curating means that you're borrowing straight out, right? So that means that you found an article that you really like and you're retyping it in the Canvas page. And then of course, citing the source, right? Or that you're borrowing a video. There are fabulous videos out there, videos that I don't have the time to create, some that I don't even have the imagination to be able to create. So what's wonderful about those videos is that they're there to be shared, and so some ads have been attached to that. There's really nothing we can do to remove the ads. We can do something to remove the option to view more videos for our students if we kind of want to captivate them and capture them within Canvas. So I do that. I manipulate the code because I don't want students to go out into the YouTube universe where they already watch things that they like. And the more videos that are suggested to them are more videos that they would already watch. It's not more videos that we would watch in terms of our themes and the topics of our course. So there's ways to curate that. And also in the curating, that means that we need to look for that captioning. We need to see that everything's accessible. And if what we're borrowing is not accessible, then the steps that we need to take to ask those folks to then make it accessible, like the publisher content. Yes, Mary, I see your hand up.
I definitely want to learn how to put stops on the YouTube videos so they don't keep seeing options.
Okay, all right, we'll do that. So I'm going to put that down here. So YouTube stops. And then Joanne and Caitlin, if you have anything that you really would like to take a look at, like I mentioned earlier, you are setting the agenda today for what topics we're going to talk about. And I'm just going to run through. So this is no more videos. Okay. And this is going to be. Okay, let's see. So we're going to continue. You've noticed that we have a theme here of establishing instructor presence, engaging students, and facilitating interaction among peers. These are tough. You'll notice that having peer-reviewed assignments can be really challenging to grade. So you might pick one of those, the ones that you think that really can benefit from students giving other students feedback on the work. I mentioned that the one I like to do is the good draft, before the final research paper, they submit it, and then they get 2 peer reviews. They also get to see 2 other drafts and then give their feedback. And we know that teaching is the way we learn the best. And so it's the same for our students, but I only have one the whole semester because it's a mini nightmare to grade. I have to have like 2 screens open, so I can't have more than just the one. I see designing strong online learning content and assessments. So the learning content, this is something that they really do not need us to coach them through, right? We can give them instructions, what to do with what we're giving them. Maybe it's a canopy film. Maybe it's like Monsignor Oscar Romero. That's like an hour and a half. So if I'm going to give them an hour and a half film to view, I'm going to give them a little bit of instruction and guidance, so they don't think, well, why are we even watching this right now, right? So I give them a little bit of content and context. And then also we'll try to link that back to the assessment, because sometimes we find really fabulous things that we want to share with them, but they're not quite placed in the lineup of the module where the assessment makes sense, And so a lot of times if I'm talking about Central America, then I'll have some sort of clip on Central America, and then I'll have a map quiz on Central America. And then maybe they will have a 10 question, just review type, easy, low stakes quiz, just to see if they review, just to see if they read the article or whatnot. Let's see here. Building a homepage that sets the tone in terms of clarity and ease of navigation. When they talk about ease of navigation, normally it has to do with where we have our start here buttons and links, and how much content we have before that link or after that link. So we try to keep these very, very clean. You'll notice in this week 4, and you don't all have to do this, sometimes this can be crazy making, but you'll notice that the basic structure is welcome information, and then any links come at the bottom. And then finally, if you're going to have Zoom meetings, it's a reminder there. But notice that here, the start here button is big. It's pretty prominent, and that it will take them to the current module. So if we click here, it will take us straight to week 4. And here you have information about stipend certificates and things like that. So what other thing? We're building, I mentioned our introductory module. So if you have, for example, a navigation page as a placeholder, meaning you created a page that says navigation, that's good. Sometimes just creating the placeholders remind us that there's information we need to put in there. And so this week, what it is going through, making sure, many of you already have that. I've gone through, and that introductory module is already fleshed out. But, maybe it's take a sneak peek, make sure everything's accessible, the headings, we're not using underlining and caps. The reason for no caps is as if we were screaming at our students. And sometimes we want to, right? Sometimes I think we want to throttle them. Maybe that's just me. But we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to practice restraint somehow. And so then that's why we don't use all caps. The not using underlining is because you see here how the meet your facilitator is underlined. The screen reader reads the underline already here and the link, and knows that to read to the students that they're going to go to another page, meaning that clicking there will take them away from the home page. But if something's just underlined for emphasis, the screen reader can't distinguish that. And so it trips up. And then the visual students, they see an underline. And I mentioned that one of my students like, hey, I keep clicking on your book and it doesn't open. I can't fix the link, and they're very bossy with me sometimes. Fix the link. You have a broken link. It doesn't take me to the book. I'm like, please show me where. They show me. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Apologies. It's underlined because that's the title of the book. It's just the title. It's not a hyperlink. And so, but how do you tell somebody something like that without saying, kind of having a tone of saying, well, don't harass me about this. That's this is the explanation for that. So what I do is if I have a situation where I'm underlining a book title, then I'll put somewhere over here, the underlining in this section is of book titles. They are not hyperlinks. And so I have to give an explanation, because that way a screen reader then will read that out to the visually impaired student. And so when it's trying to tell them that something is listed as a link, they know that, oh no, they just told me that's just the book title. What else about that? So we have our, that is going to be, and then we have our full completed module, content module. Again, if you want your full completed module to be week 2 or week 3 instead, because that represents kind of the rhythm of your week, most modules should have a sort of rhythm, where the content is, where the curated content or the created video content, where you're going to place the quizzes. Are you going to end every week with a discussion? So they should have a little rhythm to each module. They're not all going to be the same. Around midterms, it adjusts a little bit. I give them less bigger assignments, tiny review here assignments, and then a bigger assignment for a midterm, although I don't call it a midterm exam. And so around that, it's a little bit different. Around spring break, it's a little bit different. And then week 16 is definitely different, because week 16 in my courses are more touchy-feely. How's everybody doing? What's your strategic plan for, your future education or career, or, final thoughts about the course? And so they're very, they're squishy like that, because their final research paper is around week 14. That's when they turn that in. I just need the time. And nowadays, you've probably noticed that the turnaround for grading is really quick. It's not the way it used to be. We used to have like a month to grade everything and calculate all the grades and then post all the grades. And so I was at a meeting and I was kind of like, why, why is it turned around so quick? I was mini whining. And then someone said, well, yes, but everything's online. And I had a deer in headlights moment where I thought, yes, but we still have to read and grade everything. It's like everything's online, but the computer's not grading all these papers. There's still 8 to 10 page research papers, and there are probably 80 of them. And but in the moment, I was so shocked, I think, that I couldn't even think of a response for that. But anyway, so then we have to budget. You probably all have shifted the heavier content maybe away from the last week of class, just to give you a little bit more buffer. And then let's see, then again, we're still establishing instructor presence as a key concept in practice. And then that's pretty much it. We wrap up. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Start Here button, just so that you can see what the week 4 module looks like. You've probably already noticed a rhythm within our modules. So we do try to create some content that shares information. We talk about other things we can use, like in curating content, we can use zero textbook costs. You know what that means in terms of copyright. OER, Open Educational Resources, most of the stuff has a little tag somewhere where it says that as long as you attribute the author or the creators, you can use it freely. And same with images, right? And so we just need to say, I think it's borrowed from, or the copyright attribution, and then just say who it's from. Creating content, you are the boss, you are the designer, creator, and genius. And I think that's why I like creating my own content, because then I don't have to go ahead and say, I borrowed this from so-and-so or such and such. I can just create it and present it and be ta-da, And so, and then also because it's 2 birds with 1 stone, by creating content, then I'm also giving my students my instructor presence, right? So it's fresh for them. Now, does it have to be individual for that semester, that section? No, not unless you want to, not unless it's specific. Let's say you have a section that has mostly high school students. Maybe it's a high school cohort that's taking a college course. Well, then yes, maybe the language will be different than your other sections. But I try to keep my content very generic so that I can use it in the spring, I can use it in the fall or the summer. The language is the tone is very similar. I very rarely say, oh, these have been horrible fires or something like that, because we might not be in a season where there's fires, I hope. But if I do say something like, hope you're having a lovely Saturday morning, then I know that I have to use that video only in the next semester's Saturday morning. So there are little things like that normally in the announcements. Let's see. And then instructor provided guidance and learning content. Again, this is where we're talking about my not just giving them an hour and a half Oscar Romero video without giving them some sort of context about El Salvador, the Civil War, things that are going on, and what they should do while they're watching this film, you know? And sometimes we do need to have to tell them that some of the contents can be triggering. You know, in a lot of my courses, I have to tell them because I'm shocked at things that trigger my students sometimes. I think it's because of my age. I'm a little calloused, I guess. You know, I know it's horrific and that's that. But I've had students who will say in discussion, I had to stop the video. You know, it was too hard for me. It triggered a memory. And so then I'm like, okay, so maybe I need to give them a little warning. For some of the things I do say, you know, although academic, this is not to be watched in the living room with small ones. So consider this rating to be a PG-13, you know, or I might say there's language, there's explicit language here. So review it before you present it to your family, because a lot of my students do what they're like, okay, I got to watch this video. They bring out the popcorn, bring out the kids, and they make it a movie night. And for some films, it's fine. The Human Family Tree, that's fine. There's a little nudity, but it's not obvious, you know? And so just giving them some sort of guidance. And then in terms of assignments this week, you'll notice that most of this is you read and, you know, you explore, you take notes. But then when we get to the assignments, there's going to be the one discussion this week. We only have one discussion. Now, I know that we have like a post on Wednesday, reply on Sunday, but there really isn't any reason not to post on Wednesday and reply on Wednesday. That's what I do because I forget to come back to the discussions. So that with my students, I say, look, you're already in there. Unless you're the absolute first person, check to see if there's anyone you can reply to and get this assignment done. And so most by week, what are we, a week 6? By week 6, they start to do that a little bit more. And then we have one assignment, which is finalizing your first content unit. And you've already learned how you give me the module link so that way it takes me directly to that module. So for example, if you wanted your first content unit for me to look at week 4, you would give me the link to week 4. And all you do is you go to week 4, you'd go to that first page, the objectives for week 4 page, and open that. And then you would give me the URL. You would copy this link up here for that page. And that's the link that you would put in the assignment. So pretty easy peasy, except that there's a lot that's in there, right? In that assignment. And then we have another anonymous course survey. And then that's pretty much it. So it seems like a light week because there's not a lot of discussion back and forth and all of that. But the heavy lift for you is that you're finalizing your learning unit, right? And so all of the elements. So what I'm going to do is very quickly also just show you a sample of sort of the getting started, the labeling of that, week 1 orientation and meet and greet. We don't all have to do it this way. This is the way this was done. Welcome letter, meet your professor. All of these should be already seem familiar to you, right? Course communication, course policies, how to succeed. Some folks really find some interesting articles and they place them in there. Student resources, technology, the syllabus, and then they have the discussion meet and greet. In this case, this course is based on units, like unit 1, unit 2. And so what they've done is they've labeled the unit. They have content there for unit 1, and then they tell their students, this is going to be week 2, and this is the lab. And then they have created and curated assignments here. Some of these are videos that the professor made. They're captioned. And then they have these lab quizzes. This is our first fully online lab. And so I'm showcasing it here because it's really important to be able to have it to a point where if a student is a working parent, cannot come to campus, that they can still get their degree and transfer fully online. And the only way they could do that is if we had a lab that was also fully online. Up to now, the labs are hybrid. They have to come in. they have to come in, you know, and so this is a lab where they can do this online. Demonstrating mastery. So you'll notice this is very quiz heavy, but the quizzes are light. You know, this one's 10 points, 5 points. The lab is 16 points, a little bit more heavy. And then deep dive, exploratory. So these are going to be for students who feel that they grab the concepts and now they want to explore a little bit more. And then some other information here from experts. One discussion towards the end of the module, sort of as a wrap up. But then this faculty, this professor does have a summary one, biological anthropology and the scientific method, like wrap up. And so you have the overview with the objectives as one of the bookends, and then the summary lab wrap up as the end of that. And that kind of hugs the learning module. And then here just clearly labeled week 3 lab 2 for students. So I just thought that I would share that a little bit so that you can kind of visualize what it is that some folks are doing. And so that's the end of my run through here. And we have one definite question for how to make the YouTube videos not keep running. And then is there anything else that we should touch on, Joanne and Caitlin? Anything you'd like us to review or take a closer look at?
Monica, I would like some guidance on how much is too much.
How much is too much? Okay.
Yeah, I've been following the rubric and putting in stuff, and some of my students just this semester have gotten very overwhelmed. I have to do all this. I have to go through this. You know, it just looks like a lot to them, even though I don't have that much there. But because I have all these overview, summary, the next steps, they get overwhelmed. I don't know.
All right. So one of the ways to cut down the look of it. Now, we all have still our course outlines of record, right? There's still student learning outcomes that we need to meet. There aren't really things that we can eliminate. Sometimes for students, I would say that if you have any reading that's optional, that's just really great reading or really great film or documentary, but they're not really going to get quizzed on it. This is just if they want to explore more. You can keep those near the summary or even after the week summary, and then just put down their optional, want to explore a little more, and then you can give them those extra articles and videos there. So then that way for students who are feeling overwhelmed, you can tell them that after the summary page, that's optional. You know, if you're feeling overwhelmed, stop at the summary page and they'll continue on, and then whip it back over here when you have a little bit of time, you feel a little bit more relaxed, then come and explore this other content. Another thing that helps a lot is, because I get you on that, I really don't like my modules getting ultra long, right? And so what I've done is that I have a couple of different elements in one item. And by item, I mean that the items are the listed things that we have. So pages, quizzes, discussions, or assignments. And so what I will have is a discussion that has that whole peer-to-peer interaction that we need to have, right? It has instructor presence because I jump in. And then I have in there a self-assessment so that students are participating in self-assessments. I also have in that end of week discussion is also my wrap up, right? So that's where I'm like, okay, we're wrapping up the course right here. So those are 3 elements at least that I'm keeping in one item. In one discussion, I'm touching on those things. The other thing that I have is on the bottom where I say peer review, this is what you do. Then I'll say this has been a really great week. If you'd like the topics within this week and want to dig a little deeper, and I don't teach anthropology, but I just like, if you want to explore more, if you want to dig a little deeper, here are some really great articles, or these are wonderful websites, or this film inspired me to look into whatever it is topic. And so so now I've incorporated 4 elements that could have been 4 different line items, if you will, into one nice little kind of bundled up item or presented work for them. So I don't know if that helps, Joanne, because they get overwhelmed in my class. And I'm like, you only had one quiz, one assignment, and one discussion. I'm not sure why you get so overwhelmed. Yes, Mary.
I get pushback on my attempts to force students to go through the modules.
Mm-hmm.
They say, just give me the link. Tell me what you want me to do. Put it all in one place. There's too much information in too many different places. I don't want to do that.
Right. And you know what? I think, Mary and Joanne, the great thing about our having BOI and students going into our courses and seeing that there's similar elements in it means that they become very familiar. And my students can jump into Mary's students, and even if it's a lot, still feel that it's something they can manage, right? Because they're used to seeing the objectives page. They're used to having a discussion where they have peer replies that are required. They're used to now looking at the rubric, because this is something they did with me, and then they did with Joanne. And so now we, by our following sort of, and we don't have a template. We could have templates that we just gave everybody and they just said, fill it in, right? But we don't do that. We still have a lot of agency in how we design our courses, but it just means that then students are becoming more familiar to following the modules and not just be given a link. And truthfully, when they're just given a link, they get lost more. And so I tell them, this is not a correspondence course. This is not self-paced. You just go about it wherever and however you want. We're moving through the modules list together so that when we come to a discussion, we have all been exposed to the language in chapter 1 or the general themes or topics of chapter 1. So I don't know if I'm just getting tough with them, but I tell them, this is not an accident. This is intentional design so that we can move through, and so that as you complete the module, that you have the foundation and that you have sort of knowledge already, exposure to what's happened, and that you don't have any gaps in what was going on, or that some a peer will say something in discussion and you're just like, what the heck are they talking about? Because you skipped it. So for that same reason, I do not open up the grades tab until most classes until the end of week 2, because I don't want them just jumping to grades and then they're seeing the list of assignments and then trying to click, because then what happens is that they'll say, can you open it for me? I can't access it. And so I have to tell them, go back to the modules list and open them one by one until you finish the module. Then you'll be able to open the next module and get to that assignment you so desperately want to work out. So I know we do have to kind of be tough, gentle, right? Someone told me once that tough love begins with love, not with tough. All right. So Caitlin, do you have a question? Oh, Joanne, I see that you.
Yeah,
yes.
I just wanted to ask real quick. I have some students I believe are have disabilities, and maybe it comes to mind autism, some level of autism, and they don't want to participate, or they act like they cannot participate in discussions.
Oh, I see.
Have you had that, and what do you alternatively?
I don't have that because the DSPS form does not mention that at all. It doesn't say this.
Some of mine do, though. I've gotten somewhere it says.
You have a DSPS form that says this student cannot participate in discussion. That is so brand new to me. I have never seen that or even heard of that.
Yeah, I hadn't either. So I had a few this semester. So
I would have a sit down with your DSPS counselor and just say, okay, what is it specifically about autism and discussions that they can't have? I could see if it was in the classroom or in a Zoom meeting where you're saying everybody must present for at least 10 minutes, how that could be very overwhelming. I mean, I'm slightly close to the spectrum myself, so I understand some of these anxieties of having to present or having to participate in discussions. But I think that your discussions are all typed out, written, right? The only thing I could say is that because autism, there's so many different levels, right? And comfort zones, would have to sit down with the DSPS counselor, but to also maybe you could have alternate discussions, where in those discussions, students can participate by posting a video instead of typing out what they want, just having different modalities. So maybe they could create a comic, and that they're creating a comic could be their discussion post, you know. So that's the only thing that I can think of, maybe working around that, especially because we don't really know what is the trigger, what is the thing that's hindering the student from learning. You know, is it the language? Is it writing? Is it because, you know, well, I'm a horrible speller myself, especially now with technology. Before I was better because I'd have to look up the words and everything. So that, you know, is it maybe because of that, because they're concerned about what their peers are going to think by the way they write. I'm also dyslexic, so that sometimes I will not do math in front of people. So there are little things like that, that maybe it's if they can present it in a different way, or maybe, I don't know, how comfortable are you with letting students like create their own slides in PowerPoints or in Google Slides or something like that?
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's with the two of them that I know of, it's the interaction with other students. Because I work pretty much always with this one. I'm thinking of one class where this one student, he didn't want to do discussion. He doesn't like I was doing the breakout rooms, and he doesn't like the breakout rooms at all. And so I keep him in the main room in my group.
Oh, I
Because he
see.
wants to be with me. He doesn't want to be with the other students because I know he has difficulty. So I go slow, you know, I check in a lot more when he's in the class. You know what I mean? I let him share and we try to figure out his problems. And I don't know. He's just, I keep him close.
Joanne, that's a great tip. I'm going to even write this down, you know, so I'm going to say here, keep in main room. That's a great tip.
Yeah, I keep a group up with me, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and then I put other students that are more confident with some other students that I think, you know, that aren't expressing, you know, that they've already looked at it or done it.
Right.
But I keep that, there's a subset that I want to work with because I'm slower. I don't brush by things, you know what I mean? Because I know that they need that extra stuff.
That's really great. I think that's.
And I work with him a lot. I'm meeting with him. I meet with him a lot. I mean, he's already gone through all my office hours, you know.
Oh no, you're already overbooked on your office hours, right?
I'm way out of there. But,
you know,
yeah, so.
I think that it made me reflect how we used to be. I'm old enough to remember how school used to be. And how really, I mean, faculty would say in meetings, if this student cannot handle interacting with another student, they can't be a doctor, they can't be a lawyer, they can't be a judge. Those are all professions that need interaction, that we need to find something else that they can do. And so I'm marveled by the pedagogy that says every student is able and capable of meeting whatever career goal they want. And it's up to us to figure out how to pave that path for them. And teachers have always carried the burden of that, of the paving the path. But I think the difference is that now other people realize that, and so that there's more funding and care for that. So hence the DSPS offices, and, you know, trying to inform us really how it is that we need to do that. And that's all part of universal design for learning, that we try to adjust for students. There's stuff that we can't imagine adjusting for because we just haven't ever been exposed to it. But I think that it helps us stay quick on our toes to try to identify something quickly when it comes our way. So that's a lot of work for you, Joanne. And, you know, maybe it is that also we need to take this to the union. I hate doing union organizing, but I mean, it's something that if we're having to deal with students who really need this hand over hand sort of education, then there should be compensation for that, because the amount of hours that it entails hand over hand teaching is really so much more. And it's very emotional also. It's not just the hours. You know, you probably end meetings and you're completely drained. You know, I remember just passing out, pretty much just passing out, just being completely drained from those. So maybe it is also something we should bring to our union reps. All right, so wow, really wonderful stuff that you're bringing here. And Caitlin, I keep trying to bring you back just to make sure that you know that we see you're there and that if you have any questions, we'd love to hear them. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And where the heck is my button? I think I hit it. And let's see here. I'm going to try to see if I can jump into a course that might have that situation with, this is my own course, modules. All right. Oh, there's a chat question. Let me jump in and see what's that. Oh, where did it go? Okay. All right. Thank you, Caitlin. So thanks. Let's see if I can just move this, close that. All right. So you'll notice mine has the same stuff. It's very similar. I have 3 assignments in the intro week that help me really quickly understand if a student can't participate in a quiz. So I have an interview survey, very hippie. What are your hobbies? You know, where have you traveled, kind of thing. I have an upload a head and shoulder shot of yourself. So this is a photograph of themselves. Even students who wear a niqab will upload a photo of themselves, you know. And so this tells me the student knows how to hit submit, find the file they need and upload. That's an important thing in my class. So I need to know that right away, week 1. Introduce yourself to the classmates. That lets me know that they know how to post and reply. And then I have a quest for online learning, virtual office hours, information and help I need assistance in, which is the Q&A discussion. I keep the syllabus separate just because it has the syllabus. I give them a real focus on grades and feedback, your library, map resources, and then the end of week 1, which is what I was saying was my little summary. And so this end of week 1 is about everything that happens week 1, not just in the syllabus. But then week 2, this is where we start to get the painful stuff. And this course is an 8-week course. This is why it looks so wonky. Normally, every week matches a chapter, which is so lovely, right? Because it's so nice to have everything match and just go through. Sometimes you get thrown these crazy things. And so I got thrown making this from a 16-week to an 8-week. It's kind of okay because it divides easily. But for example, here I will have curated content. So that's the human family tree. And that is a documentary that I have students view. And this is political science, but I want them to have a foundation. It's like, okay, we're all going to have this foundation about race being a social construct, blah, blah, blah. But then you see here that I give them some information here, and then I present the film. The next thing that I have is these are going to be the created content. These are my own video slides. And this is what I was mentioning, that these slides at first, I took them to the DSPS officer over at Contra Costa College. He went through it and he says, Monica, these are accessible. He says, because you are reading straight from the slide. You're not ad-libbing. So it's okay. And so I'm like, yay, hooray. I was so happy. And then I took my course then. This was way before we had poker and all of those other programs. So I took my course to the CVC OEI. And so then they were going through everything and they're like, Monica, your videos are great. However, you need to caption them. I'm like, they're captioned because I'm just reading the slide. They're like, no, the screen reader can't read what's on the slide. It can only read if you have a caption. So for example, here, if I pause and then here this little red closed caption, if I click on that and toggle it, here on the left-hand corner, it says English, click for settings. If I had not gone and manually captioned these, it would say right here, let me toggle again, right here, it would say auto-generated English. And so for all of the reviewers, accessibility specialists, they're not really going to sit and view hundreds and hundreds of hours of video. They can't. But what they do, is that they spot check. So they will play the video. They will spot check. Does it say auto-generated? That's it. They don't even have to look any further. If they see that it says auto-generated, they make a little note and they send it back. And they're like, hey, you need to curate these assignments. So that's on curating these. Now what I have is tabbed here. I segmented out what was really supposed to be about an hour lecture into these 4 or 5 minute chunks so that students wouldn't get overwhelmed. And in the student feedback that I've received, students like that they have these little tiny digestible chunks of chapter 1 lecture review, because then they don't get, I get bored, so I get bored with my own lectures. I'm sure that they do as well. And so that's one of the other things that then happens here. The last thing is that if I go into edit, and it's going to look a little bit weird. Why? Because this is in a table. So there's a lot of coding and it looks scary, but please don't be scared. So I click edit. Then right here where we have the word count, if I move my cursor to this little symbol for code, it's that lesser than sign / greater than symbol. I'm going to click on that and that will show me the HTML code. I always think of it as reveal codes because I used to use WordPerfect way back in the day, and they used to have this little thing where you could reveal code and you can see where you had overlapping bolds and italics, and I love that feature. So here I can see this is my tab. Here's my first tab with fragment 1, and I'm scrolling little by little because I'm looking for something that says iframe. Here it is. This division iframe right here, and let me see if I can I make this bigger? I don't know if you can see it better. Can you? Let me see here. I'm trying to make this a little big. So right here, this iframe right here, up until here, that is the video. That is the YouTube video. And so, and it tells me here, it's a YouTube video. It says right here, it gives me the link, youtube.com embed, because I've embedded it instead of linking it, right? So I use the embed feature. And then it gives me the rest of this. They all have numbers and letters. I don't know, they must mean something. They don't really mean anything to me. But then this is where I want you to look at. So right after the letters, normally it ends with an end quote, the 2 lines end quote. But what I've done is I've snuck in this little snippet. This snippet is $rel = 0. Let me see if I can copy that and paste it in chat. And so that snippet of code, what it does is that it tells YouTube, please don't show them any more videos or suggested videos. You probably noticed as I was clicking to play and pause on my video, it wasn't popping up with any suggested videos or more videos. And the reason it wasn't doing that is because I inserted this little code. So let me see if I can back out of here. Let me move us around. I'm going to cancel because I didn't change anything, I don't think. All right, so that's how that is done here. Now, how did I get it placed in here? Let me see, where can I go? I need a blank page. Well, this is a real course. I shouldn't mess with my students too much because then later on they're gonna say, wait a second. Some students are right in there when I'm giving trainings, and then I'll get a message. Wait a second, I saw a page flash in that said something, and now I can't find it. I'm like, oh no, I was just goofing around showing something. So let me see if I can find probably in the deep here, because I've got some extra pages there that I can just goof around with. All right, so these are a DEPD, and I think I already shared with you the Grow link, not the Grow link, but the link to self-enroll in this course. Were you all here, Joanne, to get this? I think Mary and Caitlin were with us. I don't remember. And so it's just a really great repository. Oh, I can see that my internet is unstable. I'm going to hide myself for a bit. See if that helps with the video. And so it's just a really great place to go and learn some of the things. I have a workshop coming up on Canvas outcomes and learning mastery gradebook. So that's going to be on Friday. But let me see. Let me see if I have the submitted video. Join our, I can't believe we're already over here. Canvas hacks. We're gonna have some Easter eggs. Okay, let's see. This was the one I was talking about, the conversions. It's just a good, pardon me, place for me to go ahead. And so I'm going to go ahead and add a page. And I'm going to call this video video walk. All right. And then here in this video, I'm going to go ahead and insert a video here. So let me see here. Edit. I don't even know that YouTube will open quickly for me. Let me see if it will. I'm just going to pick any of these videos that I have here. Maybe this one. Okay, was this a video? No, that was just a link. They toy with me. All right, so Stephen Colbert. Now, first thing I look for here is to see if this says captions. Now notice here, this one says Spanish auto-generated captions. If this were a video that I just could not live without and really wanted to use, then I have some workarounds. They're kind of intense. They involve grabbing code from here, using a third party, and then mixing them together in Canvas Studio. It takes about 3 steps, but it is doable. So if this was a video I just could not live without, then I would do that. Let me try to find another one. Okay, I'm going to toggle. Now, did you notice? I'm going to do it again really quickly. English for settings. So that means that this one is fully accessible because it doesn't have the auto-generated anymore. Yes? Can I see a shake of heads? Did that? No? Okay, let me do that again. So I'm going to play the video, and then on the top left-hand corner here, take a look at there where I click on the closed captions. There, did you see it? Here we go. Let me see. Here goes again. English. You see how it says just English? The other one that I tried, the first one I tried to see if I could use, had auto-generated Spanish. So when they're not accessible, they say auto-generated. But I mentioned that I do have a cheat for when I find something I just absolutely love and can't replace it with anything else, that I then change the auto-generated, because then I curate the, pardon me, the captions. I actually pull out the captions and then I curate them. Yes, Mary, go ahead.
But I don't understand why then my captioned videos have to have YouTube auto-generated captions on top of my captions.
Yeah, so you have to remove the auto-generated. So a lot of times when we're doing these, like if you Screencast-O-Matic, for example, they will tell us, don't even bother captioning it here, because unless you're just going to present the MP4 straight from Screencast-O-Matic as a file. But if you're going to give it to YouTube, then you need to create the captions there in YouTube. And so because the screen reader cannot read the captions that you embedded in your own film and Screencast-O-Matic. So it can't read that. Those. Yeah, it's as if they were invisible for the screen reader, as if they were images. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I know, what a pain, right? So I will, if we have time, I will show you that, how to do that. So here, what I will do is I'll take this share here by clicking share. Instead of here, this copy, what I'm going to do is click on the embed, which is the white one right there. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on enable privacy enhanced mode. So that also helps limit the, either the auto-generated, not the auto-generated, the looping into the next playlist, or the offering more options, more films. And then I'm going to copy that code. I can just click here, copy, or I can, hands copy this here. I'm going to go into my course right here. I'm going to put the cursor here, always give instructions here. And then I do give citations, so I'll give a citation, and then I will give them, running time. So I'll tell them this takes 2 hours, whatever, because I want them to be prepped. If it's 10 minutes, they might be like, oh, I can handle 10 minutes. So I might say here, 10 minutes, just to entice them. So then somewhere in the middle here, I'm going to put my cursor. I'm going to click at the rich content editor, the top menu item there, click on insert. I'm going to move my cursor downward to the second to the last item, which is an embed. And in embed, I'm going to go ahead and paste that big iframe code. The iframe is what is the movie. Now here, I'm going to search for the end of the YouTube. And I can see it here. It says YouTube, embed, RQ, blah, 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 blah. And then it ends, and then there's a quote, the end quote. So I put my cursor between the last code of that YouTube code and the quote, and I'm going to type in question mark REL equals 0. So I'm going to type that right there, and then the end quote. And then I'm going to submit. And I'm going to save. And so what should happen now, all things being equal, because YouTube's getting very sneaky. They know that we're putting in snippets of code to stop and do or whatever, but they live off of the more videos and the more likes and the ads and all of that. So I'm going to test it out. I'm going to test out the captions. There it says English, yay, and I'm going to pause. Notice that as I pause this, there isn't a box that highlights up here that gives the students options for more videos, because it wouldn't give them more videos like this ones or the ones that I listen to or view. It'll give them cat videos or whatever they're into, right? And if they're into Minecraft videos or people unwrapping packages videos, then now they've gone down the rabbit hole of 2 hours of wasted time. So I don't want to do that to my students. So this is how you do that. Next, what I'm going to show you, well, can I do that now? It's probably going to be, I'm trying to think if I can do that now. I do have already videos that walk you through how to curate those, but what maybe we can do is find, here, I'm going to go into YouTube here. I'm going to see if it'll let me find my own videos. Sometimes it doesn't, my videos. What I want to show you is how to then edit a video that doesn't have captions. So let's go into this. I have a second webinar walkthrough. This will be a good one. So here, this video, if I were to play it, captions. See how right there on the top, it says, here we go again. Look, English auto-generated. That means that this is not a caption video, properly captioned video. But let's say I do want to caption this. So what I'm going to do, those are my sisters. I wonder if they're later on going to tell me, why were you showing videos of us? So I'm going to click on the edit video. And then here on the left-hand corner, there's going to be the details, the editor, comments, and the subtitles. I'm going to click on subtitles. Then I'm going to move my cursor, and it's telling me here, English automatic. That means auto-generated right here on the left. Do you see that? I don't know if you can see that. Right there. English automatic is the same as auto-generated, right? Because in this video with my sisters, we code switch a lot, but we're mostly speaking English. So here I move to where it says duplicate and edit. I'm going to click on that. And then it gives me all of what we were talking about. But I like to see the timings. So I move my cursor to the top where it says edit timings right there. Can you see that, Mary, where it says edit timings in blue? So I click that, and now it automatically gives the timings of when we were speaking and when that happened in the film. So I'm going to go here. Whenever I say which happens a lot, I just do that. And then because I want to correct myself, I want to correct my speech, but I can't do that. So here, I don't think that we were talking smack about my mother, I think. Mama. So I'll put in the accent, can hear you because I have my headset on, so I can translate this. Is the Scola then? Oh, so he is saying, my brother is. This was Spanish. Escuela. So he is telling me something, my brother's on the other end, but I don't know why we can't see him. Wait. Niños. Okay, so this is a title because he's telling me what that is. And we actually capitalize Mama.
I don't think Mama can hear because I have my headset. So I can translate.
Because a lot of time we don't talk smack about my mom a lot, but the thing is that sometimes we're talking about secret things we don't want my mom to know yet. And so we have a complete idea, and then we present it to my mother as a committee. No. And so that's why, saying, wait a second, isn't Mama in the next room? Can't she hear what we're saying? And so my brother's saying, no, she can't hear because I have my headsets. Okay, so I go through and I curate each line here. What it's not doing right now is putting in capitals. You notice like Nana is in lowercase. It's not giving me any punctuation whatsoever. For me, if it's for my students, I'm very cautious with all of this. For my siblings, I just, as long as I don't have these little I's in lowercase that drive me bonkers. And then, like, for example, here, it didn't even capitalize my name, and it didn't give me my accent. So I'll put that in. And so then I'd go through the whole thing. If I felt that I liked it, then I would click on, let me move this up here so you can see it. On the top right-hand corner, there's this publish button. And so I'm going to click on publish. And so it takes a little time. But now if I go down to that subtitle screen, it shows me two. It shows me the one that I've done today. And notice it doesn't say automatic anymore. It doesn't say auto-generated anymore. It just says English video language. Yes. So for any reviewer who's looking at my videos, they'll say, oh, okay, she manually went in there and checked the video. Now, many of the reviewers do spot check. Accessibility people, they will go and spot check to see if the whole thing was done. If we have a student who's using a screen reader, they will know because they're listening to it. So yes, Mary, go ahead.
Do you want me to take my welcome video, remove all the captions, republish it on YouTube, and let YouTube auto-generate captions?
Now, you're right up until the very first part where you say go back and remove. You don't have to remove that. All you have to do is go into YouTube where you have your videos, and then edit, and then do this process that I just showed you. You don't have to remove the other ones. You can leave
But
the
it's
other
so
ones.
confused. It's so confusing.
Yeah, because see, those students who can read, who can see, all they have to do is untoggle the YouTube video.
Oh.
See? So they don't have to.
I need to say in the videos
Mhm.
that you can untoggle the YouTube.
And you can have that a little line, you know how you're giving students instruction? You can tell them there are two sets of captions here. One of them is for view, I don't know how you want to say this. I don't know what the correct way is to say, for students who can read the screen, who students who are looking at the screen and can read it. And the other one's for screen readers.
All right, here's my other question.
Uh-huh.
You said that the screen readers would not be able to see the arrows that I put into my video pointing out where things were.
Oh, I didn't say that, but that's a good point. I hadn't realized.
Is that true that I can't use those arrows? Because those arrows are so bitchin'.
Oh, use the arrows. I would not curate. I wouldn't change anything about your videos. The only thing that you would do is now you're going to add this little step, this last step.
Right.
But I wouldn't edit anything else.
And the other thing you said was that the slideshow, I had a slideshow that was all pictures, and you said something about that was wrong.
Oh, well, not necessarily wrong, but what I'm saying is that you do need to double check the images to make sure that all those images have an alt description. So that if it's a picture of a student writing at the chalkboard, that if a screen reader reads it, behind that, it says the alt description is student at the chalkboard. That's all. And it's not something I can do because I don't have a screen reader. So you would just have to go in there, and somewhere in PowerPoint, there's a check accessibility button, and then it will run through and it'll tell you where there are places where the images don't have the alt description. Mostly it's images. Mostly it's an image thing.
I thought you were talking about the slideshow I did of my construction project. And you wanted those images to have alt text describing what the image was of.
Any image that you include should have an alt text. whether
All
if
right.
it's in a slideshow presentation, if it's a video like this where then I don't have to describe. I try to use slideshows that don't have a whole lot of image, I think sometimes. And
Okay.
so, but was this clear, this little run through, I hope?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, and so I'm going to stop recording this and I'm going to place it. And then that way you can go and review it as well.
Thank you, Monica.
You're very welcome. Have a